just because you're passionate about it, that doesn't mean it's your purpose.
The difference between a contact and a contract is the R.
Social media is the expedited process to in-person credibility.
If I'm going to fail forward.
Stay true on this path and it's going to happen.
You can do anything that you put your mind to. We're not meant to fit a box.
Stay aware of what your true purpose is. You either got time or you got money.
Failure is nothing more than feedback.
You could either buy your way into a room or serve your way into a room.
Blind faith can transform everything.
You need to discover the brand that's within you.
Just be yourself, because yourself is powerful enough. Welcome to Unplugged with Pam. I'm your host, Pamela Pacheco, aka Pam the Plug, where we not only amplify powerful stories, but we give you the tools to plug into your power and your purpose and unplug from what does not serve you. I'm excited for today's episode because we have one of my favorite people, a dear friend of mine, someone that I have so much respect for, someone that is not only going to give you the tools, but we're going to have an authentic conversation, like always. The one and only Jose Vega, aka Branded by Vega, Visionary Vega, the one and only legend himself. How you doing?
Doing amazing. Great.
Man.
And with you right now, right?
Yes, thank you so much for just sitting down and having this conversation. Man, so many people know you from Forbes, from Inc., from so many publications, voted #1 agency, #1 visionary branding agency in Tampa, surrounding areas. But, you know, you have such a powerful role in not only business and in the community. Talk to us about you, your upbringing. What was life like before you stepped into this role?
Well, first off, thank you for the amazing introduction. That edification is next level here. I'm going to have to just walk up Pam everywhere I go. Now we have Vega entering the room, right? He's about to order his meal, but did you know? No. So yeah, upbringing, originally not from Florida. So was born in Connecticut. I was raised in the New England area, right? Primarily Connecticut. Completely different from here.
Absolutely.
Moving into like my teenager years, we moved here to Florida with family. And I've always been intrigued by business, but I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to get into it, right? So
yeah.
A lot of us in those northern areas, or just in general, it doesn't matter where you're from, a lot of us grew up with similar backstories, right?
Yeah.
You see entrepreneurship, but it isn't usually the best example.
Absolutely.
It is. We're no strangers to hustle, but when it comes to, really aligning with the purpose, a professional purpose, that's where some people may find a roadblock. So that's kind of the start of the story, right? I was around entrepreneurship a lot, but it was more of the street hustling.
Yeah.
And I knew that I wanted to be, one day I always told my mom, I was like, you know what? I want a job where, like, when I show up, I got a suit. That was my thing. I was like, I want to rock a suit, walk in the room, and like, people know the presence. Like,
absolutely.
So, that was just something that I looked up to. And that was one of the things. Like, I would see, bringing it a little bit back to that where we started, right? I would see two people show up to the neighborhood. They had respect, right? It was the person that was on the block had respect and was a hustler. And it was the person that owned the block, like physically owned the properties, the landlords. And I looked, I'm like, both of these people have respect. And both of them get the attention when they come. But one, when he leaves here, he's not looked at with the same eyes, right? He doesn't have that respect that he has here in the street. But the other one, the one that owns, the one that's the landlord, the one that is a businessman, he comes with the same bend as the other dude comes with. But when he leaves here, he goes into other rooms and he's respected. As a matter of fact, he's admired, and the words that he says are listened to. And I really looked at the difference between those two perspectives. And a lot of the people I grew up with, many went in the opposite direction. I said, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I want to be like that one.
Yeah.
Which kind of led to, when we moved to Florida, different opportunities. There wasn't as many glass ceilings, and the doors were open for me to just kind of get creative and get into what landed me in branding.
Wow. So that's a great entry to this conversation, because, it's funny you say that. So a lot of people I'm obviously new to the Tampa Bay area, but I'm born in the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
Early childhood, before I moved to South Florida, like every Dominican, we lived in New York City. Particularly the Bronx in Castle Hill. And
a lot of time over there.
Yeah, so like you said, this up north mentality, this up north exposure, I would say, we have so many different aspects that we see, right? And you said, one of them was like the street pharmacist, the hustler.
Yeah, the hustler.
Right? And then the other one was the owner. And it's such two different perspectives, and it's such two different lenses. And we don't realize sometimes that those not only exposures, but those experiences, they shape our perspective, they shape our perception, and they shape like what we aspire to be like, what we aspire to do like. And then I remember my mom working 2-3 jobs. She was an attorney working at my uncle's law firm in Manhattan. She was working at the bodega in the mornings and at nights for my other uncle. She was also working at the salon at night. And you got exposed to different people. We sometimes was buying clothes falling off the truck. Right? So you got
the back over here.
Right. Two different type of hustles. And then I see these people, like some of them dressed in suits. And like you, I always wanted to not necessarily be the person that was successful, right? But I was like, the suit meant success, right? That perception. And you're always dressed to the T, right? Like we was talking about this earlier. And it's so interesting because those things is like we model or we aspire to be like. So you moved from up north to here and you got this perspective of just, it was like an entrepreneurship bug, right? Early on in your life, early on in your upbringing.
So,
and you wanted to just embody success.
it was just the entrepreneurial spirit in a sense.
Yeah.
Because we, like, everybody, like up north moves so fast.
It's a hustle.
It's a hustle. So when I got down here, everything was so much slower.
Yeah.
It was a little bit easier to be a little smoother, a little like slick with the words, and I'm like, okay, like this works. I think there's some potential here.
Yeah.
And just like, okay, we don't have it. It's not like, dang, I can't get it today. It's like, how do we get it? How do we get it? And it was something that a lot of people down here, I felt like they felt like they were attracted to it. There was a lens that they normally don't see from that perspective. They're normally just chill and light.
It's a grind.
So when they seen that hustle, it opened so many doors. And I think that was like the little kick that I needed. I was like, you know what? If you're going to do something, now's the time to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you moved to Brandon, Florida, you said?
No, I moved to Clearwater.
Clearwater. So you moved straight to Clearwater, Florida. So how did you get into branding? How did you discover this world? Because for you to have the success that you have and the accolades, and yes, I know you love the edification, but I mean, all of it is fact.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And you have helped, clients with over $50 million in revenue. You've had, 500 million impressions across social media. So all of these things takes work. It didn't just happen overnight. Like, talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think just I credited a lot to the foundation area where I grew up hustling. I didn't always know what it was branding, but I always was doing something similar, an asset or a pillar that represented branding. But always being around entrepreneurship, I credit a lot of it to my mom too. She's a hustler.
Let's go.
I'll see my mom just make it, she just make it happen. One of the things she kind of instilled in us was, she provided what we needed. You got a roof over your head, you got food, the rest is your responsibility to make it happen. And no one can tell you that you can't have it except for yourself.
That's right.
So I would see that, and I would see how, like, her mindset, whether she knew it was marketing or branding or not, like, she had it. And I see it from her early, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would see her go to a yard sale. Like, this is like true facts, and I'm going to kill her when she sees this. We would go to like yard sales. Shoot, normally people do yard sales to crap this at the house.
Yeah.
Go to one yard sale, buy something for 20, and then go run her own yard sale and be like, yo, this is brand new. Like, we use it and flip it for like 200. I'm like, yo, what the heck did you just do? My running. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, okay. So I was always had that entrepreneurial spirit around. When I came to Florida, how it leads to branding is actually pretty funny. So just little businesses here and there, when I was in school, there was just like little hustles. Started a bunch of businesses that just kind of flopped. When I was in high school, I was pretty decent in school. I wasn't like a little nerd or anything. I got my credits done fast. So when I was in high school, I started to take some college courses. I took business and entrepreneurship and legal aspects of business. And that's when I really started to notice that branding was like my niche, because there was a project that we had to do. We had a fictitious business, you make it up. And when it came to the brand and marketing sector of it, it was supposed to take us, I think it was like 2-3 weeks or whatever. I had like 2 days, I was done.
Let's go.
Yeah, so I was done. I'm like, yo, this is my zone. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's hard for you to be creative and like implement a creative side to business. I was like, it's just a hustle. And then I did my pitch. Everybody was like, had like a month to do the pitch. I had it done in like 3 days. I'm like, okay, I might have something. So I seen everybody was like stressing out about their projects. So I started telling people, you know what? I'll finish your branding side for you. If you just throw it, I'll make sure you get an A. And while I was in that class, I was technically selling the branding side of the project. And I did like half the classes branding.
Let's go.
So that kind of started it off. Then from there, I still didn't know that was the career path I wanted.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm going to give you some insight, right? I thought I was going to be a rapper. All right.
I
was nice. Don't play. I was nice. Don't the bars on the podcast over here. So I got into the music side of things, right? And it actually went really well.
Yeah.
So I'm the type of person, like, if I want to do something, I give it my all. I don't believe in failing. If I fail, I'm going to fail forward, and I'm
that's right.
Close as possible to that end goal. So I started to see progress in rap, but the deeper I got involved with it, I'm like, man, there's not as much money here as I thought there was.
Yeah.
And when I started to meet some of the bigger names, people that I seen that were like popping off, I'm like, a lot of it is still fluff on that side too. And I'm like, dang, you know what? I'm not making money. This is kind of hard to keep up with this image.
Yeah.
So I remember what I learned in my branding class. I'm like, all right, well, let me cut out the middleman. Maybe I could save some money if I start doing the things myself. So it kind of just started to snowball effect from there. I'm like, all right, well, I started doing opening up acts for a lot of bigger names. And Meek Mill was popping off at the time.
Wow.
He had a tour that he had several dates that were coming to Florida. And I ended up getting booked to do the opening for most of the Florida shows that he had. So I'm like, all right, bet.
Let's go.
And I realized, I'm like, dang, I don't got money for the shirts. I don't have money for the sticker, none of my merch, at the time we were burning CDs.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't have any CDs to get burned. So I started contacting all of these people and asking for the prices. And they were like, all right, for your merch, it's going to be $600. I don't got $600. But I'm like, all right, well, how much did the machine cost? I found a screen printer machine for $300. So I'm like, all right, bought a screen printer machine, and I started making my own shirts. Sticker cutter. Next thing you know, I looked in my room. I had in the garage, my room, everywhere. I started having screen printing machines. I had laptops. I had cameras. I had lighting. I just had everything that I needed, and I just taught myself how to create all these assets, which I still wasn't thinking branding or marketing.
She was doing it without even realizing it.
And the quality started to really come out well. Fast forward, I started to really hone in on the skill sets that I was building and saying, you know what, there's something here. Let me really take this serious. I started to teach myself web development, app creation, all of these things. And while we were opening up one of the days, at the time too, I was working road construction, believe it or not, 275.
Wow.
The bridges. That's how I was supporting my rap.
Yeah.
And I didn't want anybody to know I had a job. So I worked overnight road construction so they would never see me working. You're not about to catch me out here with the flying little thing going on. So I did overnight construction and I was using that money. I was 18, 19. I was making like $1,500 a week. And that was like good money for me at the time. So I was just flipping that back into my music career and like buying all of this equipment, which was laying the foundation for me to learn branding.
Wow.
So long story short, on there, went to one of the tour dates and one of the guys was complaining about his website. He's like, man, I paid $5,000 for this crap and yours looks way better than mine. Me joking. I'm just talking crap. I'm like, $5,000, bro. I would have done it for $1,000. Dude pulls out a stack of money out of his pocket, hands me $1,000.
First client. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This road construction, I don't really feel like digging the holes anymore. You know what? I'm over here bundling. I'm literally.
Yeah.
I was working Sunday night till Thursday night. And then Friday and Saturday, I was in the clubs popping bottles and putting on an image of being a rapper. And I'm like, you know what? I'm busting my butt for $1,000 a week, $1,500 a week. I just made $1,000 in an hour. Something's different. At that moment, I realized I was going to pivot, stop doing music, but I leveraged the music and the entertainment industry to introduce me to the venue owners, to the restaurant owners, the lounge owners. And I remember the first restaurant owner I came in contact with, he was like, I don't have a big budget to work with, but let's see what we can do. And I'm like, all right, yeah. He was like, I got 4,000. I was like, yeah, we might be able to make something work. Like, I was like, we can make a cock. It's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, now I just went from $1,000 and I'm pulling teeth to get these people to pay me, in the entertainment industry. I love the foundation they gave me, but I don't think it's the industry for me to work in. But I'm over here pulling teeth with these people. And now I'm like, I found a steady source of income. Like these people have money. They know that they need to spend money to make it. Like I'm with it. And I just started to, just immerse myself in that space and slowly, again, I still wasn't calling myself branding. There was a few people that were throwing the nicknames like Vega, the entrepreneur or the marketing genius. But really, I just positioned myself as just everyone would just call. They didn't know what they were calling for. They were like, yo, if you have a business, call Vega. They're like, for what? Well, whatever you need. You need stickers, call Vega. You need a shirt, call Vega. You need website, call Vega. I was just like the call Vega guy with the flood. So
I love it.
Yeah.
First of all, there's so much to unpack right now in that just short time frame. One of the things that you said that hit my heart was shout out to your mom. Shout out to our moms. Like moms are everything. My mom was that person too. Like one of the reasons that I knew what hard work looked like was because my mother would literally, as a single mom, get us ready to go to school, go open the bodega, go work at the law firm, come back, get us. And we always, as a single mom, dressed to the T all the time. And, you learn that hustle from them. And you were talking about just the negotiating, the garage sale.
Solutions are crazy when it comes to mama.
I remember like yesterday, it was not only my mom, but my grandmother. So my aunt, shout out to Tia Isi. So my aunt, her husband is still in the Air Force in the Dominican Republic. And he was stationed one time in Miami.
Okay.
So when he was stationed, my aunt used to love going to the garage sales, and my grandmother did too. We went one time with my mom, and all they needed to know was 5 cents, 25 cents, 30 cents, $1, right?
Yeah.
They didn't know a lick English, but that's all they knew. So she would be hustling, and I'm a kid, right? And I'm like, and I'm listening to them, and I'm looking like, why are you buying all these things? Like, your house is like, it's beautiful. And like you said, she was flipping it. And I didn't even know that, but she would buy something, hustle the lady down. They would try to sell her thing for $1. No, 25 cents, 50 cents, and then go flip it to something else. And my grandmother literally, was known as like La Tata in DR. Shout out to my mother. Like, and she would bring all these things from the States, but that's how she raised her kids also, just buying and reselling and all these things. But the reason I bring that up is because, parents have such an effect on the children, on the mindset, on the upbringing, on the hustle, on the grit, on just the character that it is shaped, because those little seeds that they plant in you end up flourishing into even what you are. Like, something also that you said was like, if I'm going to fail forward.
Absolutely.
And I love that, because a lot of people, they're just afraid to do something because they're like, well, what if I fail? And I'm like, but what if you fly? Right? Because it's like our mindset is where our mind sits, and is that what you focus on will expand. But I always say, like, failure is nothing more than feedback.
Yeah.
It's nothing more than feedback on what you need to do better, on what you could do greater, on what you need to learn from, and different lessons. And I love that because, then you are pivoting into, you are in marketing without even knowing it. You are a rapper, and I could totally see that, by the way. Totally see that. I might have to hit them with a 16 file.
Oh, no, that's crazy.
But, then you are, but because I think you had that mindset also of just hustle that was instilled in you from a child.
Yeah.
You as a rapper, you're like, all right, cool. Well, I know that whether I want a distribution deal or I want to make my own merch, whether that be stickers, whether that be shirts, whether my website so people can know who I am. You're like, well, I'm not going to be the one that is paying because it's expensive and I don't have it, but I still got a vision with what this looks like.
And the middleman's out like left and right. Like it didn't matter what it was. I'm like, if it's something that is accessible, if I can purchase this, if I can have it here, I'm like, if they can do it, I could do it. I just cut every middleman out, and that's how I was able to manage and finances and really budget and be strategic. Like, I don't get too lost in explaining that era of my life, but I mean, I found success in it for what it was. But I think the important lesson in my life at that moment, and it was, in every chapter of your life, I feel like you're supposed to learn one specific lesson.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In that chapter of my life, I feel like one of the things that stuck with me, wasn't the only thing to learn, but one of the things that stuck with me was self-awareness.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, they'll have a dream or they'll find something they're passionate about. And just because you're passionate about it, that doesn't mean it's your purpose. Or just because you're seeing some success in it, right? Like, that doesn't mean that it's the right path, right?
That's good.
Like, you could have found jewels on a path that you weren't meant to walk. And just because you're finding all of this gold here and there, you're like, oh, I must be doing something right. So I'm really grateful for the self-awareness to say, all right, like, because when I decided to make that pivot, it wasn't that I was struggling in music. I wasn't getting opportunities. I was getting all of the opportunities to make me, if anything, continue on that path.
Absolutely.
But I'd seen the opportunity in a bigger view, and I was like, I need to pivot and start here.
But that's what you said, like, and the reason why I brought that up is because I know that it was not like a huge part necessarily, but you learn lessons, but also the self-awareness. Because the fact of the matter, you're like, listen, I was working overnight because I had an image and a brand that I wanted to uphold. It was a crazy schedule. But then it's like the light bulb went off when what you was making a little bit in a week, you got paid for in less than an hour for something, and I think that was something so powerful too, because you're like, okay, well, this opened doors. And then you're like, it wasn't because I was struggling, but I just saw a different opportunity because the light bulb went off. And then you're like, also, I love that you're like, I started leveraging the connects that I was making, the contacts that I was making. I always tell people the difference between a contact and a contract is the is the relationship, right? And you started building relationships with the business owners, with the venue owners. And it's like, okay, what budget you got? I'm gonna work with it.
Yeah.
But like you said, the self-awareness was key, and you were taking the lessons that you were learning from in school. And that's why I say, like, the hustle spirit, that up north hustle, right? And that upbringing, it shaped that person that you were becoming in the process. Because even in school, when they wasn't finishing their papers, like, yo, I got you on the branding.
Quick.
I got you on this, and you're going to get an A. I was doing the same thing in college. I was staying overnight, quemándome la pestaña, burning the midnight oil because I was like writing people's papers. Because I'm like, listen, I'm going to write this 20-page paper. I'm going to get paid. And I was still making money in insurance while I was in college. But I was like, there's always more because I always knew there was another level. And I think that that's also something that you saw also for yourself. You're like, there's another level. There's different things that I can do. And you started, and I love something too that you just said. You're like, just because you're passionate about something, it doesn't mean that it's your. And you found your passion as you were walking in this journey. And I think that that's so powerful also, because you're able to now, be this branding extraordinaire and be this businessman and all of these things. But it was some defining moments along the journey.
They're definitely
What was one of those defining moments, even when you started your career in branding?
when I started, or just at the moment in
Yeah, whichever you want to.
Yeah, I mean, after that, right? So that went on for a little while, for a long while actually, right?
Yeah.
So I just continued to be but I wasn't really defining what niche I wanted to take, or a role or a title.
Yeah.
I was just kind of just like hustling. It just kept on. It was going, and I developed a lot of skill there. But a pivotal point was when I really started to like draw impact for a lot of these businesses. Meaning, like, I started to big ROIs, like very noticeable. I started to notice brands that were struggling when I was working with them suddenly shift and get an influx of new clients or new followers. So social media, I don't want to sound old, but I mean, social media really wasn't as big of a thing until,
Absolutely.
it wasn't as strong of an asset as it is now. So the way that you would determine it is like, can you really make something happen in person? Like, can you get people here? Which change, that's part of the perspective that I have on social media now. I tell everybody, so many people are focused on becoming an influencer, and then they forget like the boots to the ground. Like, you got people that have thousands of followers and they can't get, 20 people to show up to an in-person event. So I always tell people, social media is the expedited process to in-person credibility. You should want.
Say that again.
Media is just it says social media is just the expedited process to in-person credibility. So the only reason why you should be wanting to be relevant or gain attention on social media is to lead back to an actual purpose and a call to action or something. You should want to build community and really connect with these people on a one-on-one.
Absolutely.
So leading back to the original question that you asked me, what was a pivot point? I started to see that. I started to notice that we were really having impact. But I was like, something's not right. Like, I'm making okay money at the time, right? Like, I was almost at 6 figures. So I'm like, I don't have a college degree. I don't have, like the formal training or experience, but I'm doing better than a lot of these people that have all of that. By paper, they should be far ahead of me, and they're not. So I really started to think to myself, I was like, I'm doing kind of good, right? I started feeling myself getting cocky. A big pivotal point in my life was finding out that I was going to have my daughter. And at that time, I was still hustling, but I knew that there was more. Like, and when I found out that I was going to have a kid, I'm like, something has to change. Something, I know that there's more, and I can't try to figure it out with her here. Yeah. So I technically got 9 months to figure it out before she gets here. Yeah. I have to have some base. I have to know what I'm doing with my life before I can guide someone else's life.
That's good.
So I started to think to myself, I was like, what separates me from someone that's making multiple 6 figures per client or multiple 7 figures? And I started to look at the portfolio. I was like, the portfolios are not different. I looked at the analytics. I was like, the numbers are not different. So I got this bright idea. I was like, my daughter's going to come in 6 months, right? She'll be here in 6 months. She'll be born. I got 6 months to get hired at one of these big firms. I'm going to steal all the insight. I'm going to find out how they get in all these big contracts. And once I know it, I'm out. Boom. So by the time I had a plan, right? I hit him with the boom. It's serious when you're like, boom, all right? Yeah. So I'm like, all right, boom. I'm going to get the job. I'm going to steal all of the insight. I'm going to figure out their strategies, their implementation. I'll figure out how they're pitching. I'm going to figure out how they're getting leads. I had this whole thing mapped out, full mastermind, and like super plan. I was going to do this big heist on their strategy. And I was going to come back. I was going to be just hitting. I was going to have all their clients, right? So pivot point happens when I decide, all right, I have to make this happen, right? Yeah. I talked to my daughter's mother. She was like, okay. She was like, you sure that's something you want to do? And I was like, yeah. I think this is what I want to do. I don't want to try to figure it out when the baby's here. I want to have a foundation to have it figured out before she comes. So she goes, okay, rock with it. Whatever you want to do, I'm going to back you. Whatever you need from me, let me know. And I'm like, all right, so I'm going to go for it. So I started to look for the jobs. I was like, all right, what agencies are the biggest agencies at the time? And this is like 2014, like going into 2015. Tampa completely different than what it is now, right?
Yeah.
So Tampa was pretty much ghost town, right? Downtown. Like after 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, corporate office done, like there was no nightlife, there was no hospitality. So when you start looking up what's the most impactful agency here, creative agency or creative community, it's like nothing was showing up, right? But a few agencies popped up. So I was like, okay, there's not many. So that means my chances are smaller at getting hired at one of these agencies. And I was like, also, I don't have a degree. So that's something that's instantly going to set me up for failure, right? They're going to look at, by paper, I don't meet the qualifications, but I knew my portfolio was good. I knew my skill set was good. So I said, I got to think outside the box. And I went into my studio at the time. I had a little garage studio. And I said, instead of sending a resume, I'm going to do a full like mini documentary and I'm going to do the green screen and have their logos. I did the dopest like resume application you could possibly think of. I thought it was dope in the moment.
Yeah.
I sent these in and it was ghost town. Nobody hit me up for a while. And I'm like, damn, I thought that was good. I'll start really questioning myself. I was like, maybe my skills are not that good. I'm like, nah, that's crazy. I was like, I know my skills.
Yeah.
And well, I'm starting to have this battle back and forth for myself. But it was like, you know what? I was like, at the end of the day, you're already finding success without them. If it's not the right fit, if it's not for you, if it's not meant to be, it won't happen. But if it is, stay true on this path and it's going to happen. That was a huge pillar that I was forming without realizing from a foundation of faith, which is, it led to me starting to really search more. And I ended up coming across my favorite quote to this day is blind faith transforms into reality. Mm-hmm. Meaning if you truly believe something's going to work no matter what, and you don't give yourself any other option, you'll make it happen. Absolutely. Somehow, some way, if it's meant to work for you, it's going to happen. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have blind faith. And I just kept doing what I was doing. And then suddenly I got a call. And it was one of the agencies that I applied for. They're like, we would love for you to come in.
One of the ones you sent the video to.
I sent the one.
Yeah.
Like, and they never even seen the video. They seen the video after I got hired, to be honest. So that I was like, that's why you guys didn't call me, because you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You would have been online. Right?
Absolutely.
So I did the interview process and it was cool. You know, I was like, this is different. I don't know if this is what I want to do. And then I start questioning myself again. I'm like, do you want to have somebody like barking orders at you? And then I went back home and again, I remembered blind faith turns into reality. Like if you have faith that it's going to work, it's going to work. So I was like, all right, I don't know why I'm questioning myself. It's going to work. I'm like, so I stopped questioning myself. Make it through the first, it's a 4-part interview, made it through the first 4 parts. And I go in, I'm not going to mention the person's name.
Yeah.
But I go into the 4th interview and it's this cocky young dude. He's probably like 4 years older than me or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me like instantly, I guess, I heard that everybody else thought I was great. So he instantly was like, I'm a press him. Like, he's not great. Like, right? Like, he had it out.
Little did he know.
Right? So, and it's actually, there's a funny twist to the story, but I just felt the energy was off. And again, like that northern part came out of me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Me tranquilo, pero, you know, I'm like, you know, don't play real quick. Like, I felt like I was kind of being disrespected. I had to question myself during the interview. I'm like, yeah, you don't really need this job, Vega. You could try him real quick. Like, you could step to him if you need to. So we go through the interview and like, I'm noticing, like, I'm like, the energy's off. And I'm starting to feel almost disrespected. But in my head, I'm also like, you have a kid. You got to change that perspective, that mindset of like, you know, oh, like you always got to prove yourself. I'm like, sometimes you don't have to, you could let your actions speak for yourself. You could let your results speak.
Amen.
So I'm having this battle with myself as homies right here. And I'm like, I'm 5 seconds away from almost cussing you out.
Saying, you got one more time.
And come to find out, he just pressed that last button and made me snap, right? Mid-interview. I'm like, all right, I'm not getting the job, but I'm also not going to let you disrespect me out here. So I pressed that, right? I hit him with the almost to say, what you're not going to do is like, so then he reciprocated the energy. He was like, you know what? He was like, honestly, I wish they did give you the job just to prove a point. He was like, we get hot shots that come in here all the time. You're not going to do anything. He was like, you probably come in here and do a little wait for a month or so. You'll fail. He said, you don't got no degree. You don't have any formalized experience. He was like, I don't care what you got on your resume. I don't think this is the right fit for you. He was like, it's almost to the point, I feel like giving you the job so that way we can prove a point. And I don't even remember what I said, but I just know that I kind of like, snap.
Yeah.
And I left and I was like, you know what? But I was like, before I was leaving, I was like, he said something. He's like, I feel like giving you a job. And I was like, all right. So left. I'm like, I didn't get the job. I knew it. I'm like, I didn't get the job, right? I get a call back the next day. And it's the other leaders and the managers and so forth. They're like, yo, we'd love to give you the offer, right? And I got to Ori, and I see homie that had the attitude. He's already giving me the look, the stank face. Like I knew there was that plot twist, right? We end up getting into it again, right? Like again, the same day that I come in for orientation. On day one. And I was like, you know what? Prove a point. I was like, I don't need this job, but to prove a point, I'm gonna pass everybody in this office and I'm gonna take your job. That's how we ended the conversation. He was like, yeah. Da, 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 da. I'm like, this dude's gonna be the end of me. I swear. I was like, I'm gonna end up catching a case because of this guy, right? But I had a point to prove at that point.
Yeah.
That was a long-winded answer to what you asked me.
No,
what was the foundational piece? And it was this. It was like, and if anything, instead of proving a point to anyone else, it's to prove a point to yourself.
Yeah.
That you have what it takes.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a certain background. You don't need to have a degree. You don't need to have anything. If you're going to make it work, here's the opportunity for you to show yourself, and then you can make it work.
Yeah.
Get to work. Stop telling people that you so Mr. Hotshot. You like, because in my head at that moment, I'm gassed up. The city telling me that Vega's the plug, right? So in my head, I had this entitlement almost. And it was that self-awareness clicked back in. And it kind of honed it as more of a foundational piece for me again. It was like, if you're really a hotshot, prove it here.
Yeah.
Fast forward, 30 days in, I became the top producer in the entire company. And passed everyone in the office. So I'm like, check mark, bro. I walk up to Parker, right? I said his name, whatever. And I'm looking at him like, yeah, bro, what's up? Like, right? So I was like, that's like check one, meaning I'm coming for what I said.
Yeah.
The job, right? So the 30 days in past it, I ended up getting invited to Texas. They were doing like a leaders conference because the company was at a broad scale. We were working with big companies like Walmart, Sam's Club. We were working with Royal Palm, a lot of these bigger companies. So there was a corporate event, a large scale event. And I got sent out there. I was working with leaders. I was training. This leadership program was normally supposed to take like 4 weeks to 8 weeks. So like 1 to 2 months to get into. 3 days into being hired, I was already in the leadership program. So it was like, I felt like I had something to prove.
Yeah.
Right. And I just started hustling and grinding. And 6 months turned into a lot more 6 months, right? Trying to prove a point there. But long story short, 11 months in, I succeeded at what I said. I took the job and I actually got partnership. I became a partner to the firm.
Wow.
I opened up my own office. I had my own division, and it opened up so many different opportunities for me. And really started to show me like, Vega, you got what it takes.
Yeah.
So don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't. And that was my entry level at 24 years old into working and managing. I had a team of over 20 people under me, had major contracts, 7-figure, businesses that we were working with. And it just grew from there.
I love that. Man, first of all, congrats. That's powerful. And there's so many things to like unpack there as well, right? So your defining moment was you're welcoming your baby girl, you're being a parent, and you're like, and I love something that you say, you're like, I can't guide anybody else's life if I'm not guiding my own. But there was also some things that you had to unplug from, right? Because you had to unplug from limiting beliefs, right? And even though you had such a high belief in yourself, but you struggled with going back and forth with your mindset, your limiting beliefs, like, can I do this? I've been used to being an entrepreneur. I've been used to working for myself. Yeah. But you also let go of that pride. And you say, you know what? Because pride comes before a fall, right? But you also had blind faith too. So you unplugged from this limiting belief of, can I do this? Will I not? Will I be successful? Can I? And also the pride, and you plugged in more to your faith. Mm-hmm. And you plugged in more to, like you said, that faith that was going to move mountains, that faith that was going to give you the power that you needed. And you also had that belief in yourself. You plugged into just believing more in yourself, believing more that you could do anything that you put your mind to. And you also had a plan. Because I feel like a lot of times people, they want to do certain things.
Yes or no? There wasn't so much, there was blinded plans. So,
in the sense of, you had a plan of execution, right?
Yes.
Because you're like, okay, well, I'm coming into this office and I'm going to learn as much as I can. And I'm going to take the systems and I'm going to take the insights and I'm going to go copy it or model it or learn as much as possible so that I could go do my own thing. But you also had a plan to take over, to pass everybody up in the office. You had a plan to take Buddy's job too, right? But you also had to unplug from your own ego in the sense, because you're like, he got one more time to try me. But little did you know, and even that limiting mindset of, man, I didn't get the job because you, after the interview, it was like confrontational and all this other things.
Yeah.
But little did you know, like they were looking exactly for you. Right. And I always say like your gifts are going to make room for you.
They were looking for somebody. I think what really set us out too is they were looking for someone that wasn't there to be a yes man, right? Most people, when you're looking to apply for a job, you kind of have that fear, and it doesn't shine you in the best light, right? Because you dim your light a little bit.
Yeah.
I can't be too noisy. I can't stand my ground.
Right.
And I think what got me the job was standing my ground.
Absolutely.
They were looking for somebody to challenge specifically that person.
Yes.
I'll give you even a little bit unplugged insight on it too. Come to find out, like 8 months later, right, when I'm already at the senior level training and I'm getting ready, like I didn't know that they were gonna make me a partner in the firm yet. I started to get a lot more insight on the back end. Come to find out, the office that I applied for in Tampa, when I got hired, it was 2 weeks away from going out of business.
Wow.
They had less than a month of finances that could sustain it because the office wasn't working, which explains why that person must have been frustrated when he was interviewed.
Yeah.
And a new hot shot, what this person.
Mm-hmm.
And homie wrote an article, how I saved my office and took it from failing to growing. And I'm over here like, bro, you ain't do that. That was me.
Yeah.
Hired 20.
Yeah.
I did this. So like,
but that's what I'm saying too. Like you, even though it was friction.
It was
still, you still stood your ground, and you still were like, plans change, decisions don't.
Yeah.
You're like, I have a decision I have 6 months to figure out because my daughter's about to be here. And you're like, whatever I got to deal with, like I'm going to deal with. And then when you got in there, you checked off your boxes as far as learning as much as you could, quickly, going through the ranks, becoming partner, getting invited to leadership conferences and all these things. Then also going from not only being a stellar employee and outperforming everybody, but you had to learn you were learning a lot, and you were also applying what it was that you were learning, because they're not going to make you a partner if you wasn't. And of course, they weren't going out of office they weren't going out of business because of all other things that you made happen as well. But I feel like if you didn't have that determination, I don't think that would have happened. If you weren't sure of yourself, like you said, sometimes I believe like things are meant to be challenged. I'm the person that's going to ask a lot of questions. I'm the person that I'm not going to fit your mold. I love that about you as well, because we're not meant to fit a box. We're not. So everybody has their own DNA, and we'll get into that in a second. Right? But everybody is made specifically for a reason, for a purpose. And that's why your gifts will make room for you, because anywhere that you go, you're going to be authentically you. And yes, we're in, becoming the best versions of ourselves. But I think a lot of times people get lost in the sauce of just, oh, I have to fit a mold, or I have to fit this box, or even if I'm in a job, I can't necessarily be myself. That was one of the things that I could not wait to get out of corporate America, because in where I was as a commercial banker, and I loved my experience as a commercial banker. I loved being able to help people. I got into, commercial banking by way of personal banking. A lot of people don't know I have my Series 6, my 63, my 215. I did insurance and investments and securities, like legally, like knew what I was doing, right? But all of these things, I had to say that, because today everybody wanted to be an investor coach and all of these things, but I knew I got paid obviously to do, because I knew what I was doing. I passed those tests and they're crazy hard. But I quickly learned that I'm in this and I'm making a lot of money fresh out of college, but it wasn't in alignment with my core. Like I felt out of place. Like I saw so many people lose stuff. And then I started getting into businesses and learning more about small businesses, and then just helping the underdog. And I got a passion for businesses in commercial banking. But there was times that I had to be in a 2-piece, 3-piece suit all the time. And don't get me wrong, like I love wearing a suit if I want to, but like I got blue nails on. You know what I'm saying? Like I could not do that in the bank. And that was one thing that I was like, I couldn't necessarily be myself, because I had to be like this professional banker at all times, and, in every aspect. And so many times because we're fitting the job description, we forget that we're also, we're called to be authentically ourselves. Because that's why I believe that you also had such success, is because you were you. They were looking for, like you said, they were looking for somebody that was going to challenge not only this person, but they wanted somebody that was going to challenge the status quo, because they're like, okay, well, if he can challenge this person, he's also going to challenge the challenges that we're going through right now. Mm-hmm. And you were able to take them to the next level by being yourself, but also that just determination that you had, and that hustle and that mindset that you're like, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what it looked like I'm going to be successful because my daughter is everything. And I believe that, being having a purpose and that drives you is always going to allow you to take your life to the next level, take your business to the next level, take every single aspect. And I love that you are such an amazing father. Being a single dad is something not easy. Being a parent, period, is something not easy. And no, I'm not a parent, but I have the utmost respect as a godmom, as an auntie. Like I know what that looks like that I don't even know, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because the other day when I called you, I'm going to say that.
Yeah, go.
The other day when I called you, it's Friday night. I think it was like Friday night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, Vega, I got to talk to you about something. You're like, cool. And I'm like, oh, what you doing? Like baking cookies with my daughter. I was like, oh, yeah. Right. But that was you're such also like an intentional parent, and that has been like a guiding light also for you, and I believe that pivotal moment also gave you power because it gave you purpose.
So, I mean, I would say being a father is the core pillar of who I am, right? Just like it really allows me to walk in my purest light, right? Like shine in my purest light and walk in my purpose. Like being a father and not only from a provider perspective, but just like everything that it embodies, right? Like being present, being there. Like she's taught me so many lessons that I've applied to business, like things that I learned on the person that I need to be for her. Like how that translates over into what I do with business, like just being understanding and just having more patience. But like, there's so many lessons that I learned in being a father that has allowed me to cut that learning curve in business and really just look at things from a different light and not always have to be that rough, like, especially up north, you always gotta be like, y'all, go. What, like, so like being a father has taught me so much that I applied to business and like, I'm super grateful for it. And I'm glad that you mentioned that specifically, like the Friday night situation. Yeah. Because, and then you also mentioned another thing about like money, right? Like how you were making good money, but that's not what was.
It wasn't fulfilling.
I think it's important, again, back to self-awareness, is understanding that like, especially nowadays in today's age, you open up your phone, every slide, right? If you fall into it, you fall into that negative trap or that toxic track of like, they paint entrepreneurship to either be one of two things: super sexy, like it's jets, cars, flies, this, that. And then the second portion is, if you're not doing this, you suck. Like if you're not, like, you need to want a Lamborghini and you need to want a mansion. You need to do this. Like if you're not focused on $1 million all the time, and everything's painted from a perspective, financial perspective, and there's nothing else where everyone's not money motivated. Yeah. So for me, what I always said, I started my business because I wanted to be someone that was going to be present, but provide a life to my daughter that I never had. And I think what's important, like before we get off that topic and jump on branding, is to stay aware of what your true purpose is. Because one part that we didn't get to get into the story is my why when I started, and what drove me to find success in the business was my daughter. My why was always my daughter. Every time somebody asked me, why do you work so hard? Like, how are you killing it? How are you doing this? I always tell them, like, I never want my daughter to experience a no that she doesn't deserve. So she's never going to hear no from me because I can't afford it or because we can't do that. And I built success that way. But then when I found success, I got distracted by the success. I got distracted by the money. And now that why pivoted, and I told myself I was building a business and building success for my daughter. But then I looked up and I found myself across the country, away from my daughter, not seeing my daughter. And I was not only a partner, but I was the owner of a multi-7-figure firm. 24 years old, I was like, I'm going to be happy when I have millions. I'm the owner of a multi-7-figure firm. And I was the emptiest that I could have possibly ever been.
Wow.
And I was away from my daughter. And everything that I built, saying it was for her, I felt like a hypocrite. Like, I felt like I was contradicting myself. Like, yeah, you built the business for success. And when somebody says, oh, who's this for? It's for my daughter. That sounded nice on camera, but why are you across the country? And like, why are I was spending Father's Day alone, holidays alone. I was with nobody. And I'm like, but I can say that I own a 7-figure business.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to me now. Like, I have friends that be like, yo, you want to go here? Yo, look, they'll call, yo, look, you trying to take a trip here? And like, great opportunities that happen. But I'm like, I'm just chilling. I'll make some cookies. Yeah. I'm at gymnastics. I'm at chef class. Like, yeah, that's the biggest flex for me now is, people, they'll talk.
Present.
When you talk about like accolades or achievements, oh, he's done this, he's done that. They say all that. But what I'm most proud about, like when you really get to know me, you get to speak to me, I'll be like, oh yeah, I made $50 million for my clients, or I've done this. I'm like, I get to pick up my daughter from school every single day. I'm at chef class. I'm at gymnastics. I don't miss anything. I'm there and I don't have to miss it at all. Like I can literally be, my daughter's like, Dad, I got this in the morning. Okay. I don't have to question to somebody. And that to me is like the most valuable thing that I have now. And even I've chosen to step away or lose out on opportunities or even slower growth now in scaling my business. Now I'm more cautious, right? Because there's been plenty of opportunities that is like financially, it makes sense. Do that because you're going to make a ton of money. And I'm like, I can't lose myself in that again. I want to stay true to what my why and my purpose is. And that's my daughter. So like, that's what I feel most successful about now is like that.
I love that, man. Congratulations. That's so powerful. Because even like you said, you know, you thought that when you got the millions, that was going to equate to success. And then you got to that point and you found yourself empty. No matter how many people were around you, you were lonely because the person that you wanted to be with the most was just a present father. And I think that that's powerful in itself because, again, that comes that self-awareness, right? That self-awareness. So how did you become so self-aware? Because yes, experience, but I'm sure there had to be some type of personal development, whether it's you investing in yourself or masterminds or reading books, or talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean,
how did you start becoming this version of yourself?
Early on, I learned that we got two things. You either got time or you got money. And if you don't got money, you got time. So put it to use. So I did a lot of that. I didn't have the money at first to invest in myself, but I had the time and I had skill sets that I had. So I easily found myself, you could either buy your way into a room or serve your way into a room. And I found myself serving my way into many rooms. Like major props to a lot of my mentors. There's, so many people that I learned from, but people that it would cost thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn from. I'm like, what do they need? I know graphics, I know websites, I know video. And I'm like, all right, I don't have $10,000 or $5,000 to be there, but I got time.
Yeah.
Go film for you. Let me go, do this. And I wouldn't ask. I would just add as much value as possible. And again, just leveraging the resources, what I had, it was a major blessing to learn from so many different people, from business to coaches and just so many people. And even now, I mean, that's something that is the next pivotal point in my life. Another foundational pillar is just always being a student. Again, always looking for mentors. I'm very grateful now, like some of the mentors that I work with or learn from, like Myron. I learned so much from Myron Golden. Like it's such a blessing to even be in proximity to people like that.
Absolutely.
But just finding someone that at the moment, right? Every leader or mentor that I learned from was relevant to that point in my life. So looking now, I know a lot of what I want to be is a father and have a man of God. That doesn't mean that you're perfect, but you have that structure within you. So I find a mentor that is in alignment with what I want to be and what I want to project into my own life. And I model, what's already working. So I'm in this stage of my life right now, people like mine, there's a few more that, they don't have a huge presence, but they have amazing results, amazing portfolios. They model what I want to be, great fathers. And I follow what I see. That's what I want. Yeah. Everybody doing it. Let me find out what I want. Let me model that.
Yeah. I love that you said that you could buy your way into a room or you could serve your way into a room. That's powerful because a lot of people, sometimes you either got time or you got money. And I always say, like, if you got time and you got like whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's your skill sets, like use two to get one or use one to get two. Like you have to use that to your advantage. And I love that you're like, you know what? Money was not going to be an obstacle for me. And again, that mindset is powerful because you're like, I'm not broke or broken. Like I'm overcoming a cash flow problem right now. But because I have a determination, because I have a purpose that's bigger than this situation, like that's what I'm going to focus on. And I'm going to make sure that I make a way or find a way where there is no way. So
broke is, it's important to, before you say it.
Yeah.
I feel like broke is a mindset though.
Absolutely.
Broke never has to do with finances. When someone says I'm broke, it's far beyond just what you're looking at in your account. Broke is a perspective, is a poor person's mindset.
Absolutely.
It's from a place of lack. And there's been times financially I've lacked, right? Even when I decided to leave that business, I left the business that was succeeding at when I realized it wasn't in alignment. There was a time where I'm pretty much to like,
And we're going to talk about that. Like how you transitioned, how you pivoted, like what was that moment? Like I know you said, when you found yourself just empty and like missing your daughter and spending all these holidays by yourself and like you weren't fulfilled anymore. So
it really boiled down to one specific moment, right? Because we talk about it for hours. That whole podcast in that segment of life. But it really boiled down to a moment where like I was already feeling the emptiness. And it was actually when I was experiencing the most success, like when I had just opened the office, everything, I made a post, right? Tying back to like what I originally talked about. I was like, I made this post where I was like, I always wanted to have, I had a dream of always having a job where I was dressed nice to the T, a suit, and I would have a corner office and all this stuff. I expressed it in this post. And I was like, I never got that job, but today I bought that office, right? And I posted it, and it sounded dope, right? But I posted, I'm like, shit was empty, right? And a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Rob Santiago, called me. He was like, man, Rob was older than me, a little older than me too. And he was like, man, I just want to say I'm proud of you. Like I look up to what you're doing. He was banking at the time. And he had started a new venture that he started off entrepreneurship. He's like, I just want to say congratulations for the office, bro. Like, it's inspiring to see what you're doing, like see how the success you're finding. He was like, yo, I'm doing entrepreneurship too. I left the bank. He was like, check it out. Here's my, so, while I'm not trying to flex or anything, but I'm like, yeah, and I gave him a pan around. He sees the office. He's like, yo, it's dope. Check out my office for the day. And he panned around and he was at the beach with his son, with his laptop. And when I hung up the phone,
Wow.
It's hard for me to cry. When I hung up the phone, my eyes got watery. And like, I'm like, damn, I'm over here flexing the office. And what would I do to be with my daughter? And I questioned myself, I was like, really, what would you do to be with your daughter? What is holding you back? Like, it's not like you can't be with your daughter. You're allowing money to hold you back, or the success or the image that you're painting for other people. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think this is, something was bothering, right? And
Yeah.
there, but
Like that burning desire, like that.
at this point, the office, I didn't even say it. So like when I got over there, the office was struggling. Like I moved from Florida to Baltimore. Like we're not gonna go back in reverse, but
yeah, I know.
And the office almost went out of business when I moved over there too, just because I wasn't in the right mindset. And we had to figure it out, and it took a lot longer than what it was. And I lost a lot at that time. Like just everything that could have possibly gone wrong was going wrong. I went from being engaged or about to be engaged with my daughter's mother and being a father man and all this stuff. I was like, to moving across the country, starting from scratch. The success that I was having here in the office here was not translating when I had to move to Baltimore to open up another office there. And I was like, bro, what did you do? You walked away from the life that you had to supposedly build a better life for your family. And now it's going to fail. Now you're going to lose that, lose this. And I'm like, I can't make it happen. I can't let that happen. Hustle, took the business from dead broke, about to go out of business, to 7 figures again in 8 months over there. Wow. Started to go good. And then, that's where I made that post. I'm finally partner. I'm finding success. And I was like, I'm over here like glorifying this. I did it, but I'm like, why don't I feel like I'm winning? Why don't I feel like I did it? And then that's when Rob gave me the call. I'm like, this is not what it's supposed to be for. That day I called our admin. I said, cancel the meetings. I'm not going to show up. Tell the team to just go handle what they have to handle for their clients. Don't come to morning meeting. And I got in my car and drove from Baltimore to Tampa, 16 hours straight, drove over here.
Wow.
And I seen my daughter, and I want to talk to my friends. They had sent me the message, and I was just like looking for an excuse to be here. Like just God, give me something that tells me to just stay. I was looking for, somebody could have sneezed the wrong way, and I would have been like, yo, I gotta stay. Like,
Yeah.
And at this point, I had a full team. I had 19 employees. I couldn't just walk away. But I drove over here. It's Friday. Sunday comes. It's time for me to drive back because I got to go run my morning meetings on Monday. And my daughter gives me a hug and she goes, Daddy, don't leave me ever. Got in the car, started crying like a baby again. I'm like, damn, I haven't cried in forever. And in this last month, I'm crying more than I can think, man. And I drove 16 hours back, straight shot. Get to Baltimore at 4:00 in the morning. I didn't even go home. I parked in the parking lot of my office, and I just stayed in my car, crying. Like I feel like I was like, yo, I feel like a failure. Like I don't like, and financially I didn't feel like a failure, but I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Like really, why are you doing this? So it wasn't that I wasn't being successful, but I'm just like, I got to do something. I checked out for that moment. I went in, I ran my meeting, and everybody could tell something was different. Because everything I do it with passion. So you could feel the passion through the meetings. Feel the culture. You could people came and people stuck out, like really rocked out with me through the growth of the company because of the culture. And that was a major part of my success. And when I lost that spark, and everybody instantly felt it. They were like, yo, you're unplugged from reality. This isn't the Vega that's gonna lead us to success. And I lasted like a week. It's all it took for my partners, the board of directors at the time, because they oversee, the office.
Absolutely.
And I was a partner first. So I had other partners. I had mentors that were looking over, kind of monitoring everything. And my mentor, Tatum, she came up to me, this little 5-foot son, real short, just boss, like redhead, like she didn't play. She's a firecracker, right? She was like, bro, you gotta get your shit together. You gotta go.
You're here, but you're not here.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Like, you gotta make the decision. You either want to be here or you gotta check out, because you're not doing yourself any service to be here, and you're not helping your team. Like, you lead, your team follows you because of the passion you have, and if it's not there, you don't want to be here. You can't be here, right? And I was like, I don't want to be here. And I really thought, I was like, I just don't know how to walk away from this. How do you walk away from a company that grew fast?
Yeah, like
control. Like, how do you walk away from people that their lives are depending on you because this is their jobs? And I learned really fast that you can't just walk away from that, right? I'm aware I built up this business, and now I find myself trying to exit a company where I'm pretty much going to end up with nothing, no money back from it.
Wow.
And just because of the situations, I was like, just walking away from everything. I was like, but I knew I had to. And I did. And, it was a tough process. And I walked away, and I had some savings, what I thought was good money or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I walked away, and I lost that spark, a bit of that spark for a while. And I lost the self-awareness that I had, that pillar that was really guiding me, that light that was taking me forward, of just being able to really own out, like, this is what needs to work on, change it. This is what you're bad at. And I kind of got lost. Like, just found myself wandering around. Like, I came back, and I'm like, okay, now I'm back with my daughter, but what now? What do I do?
Yeah.
And, I found some people that are network marketing. I joined some network marketing company, and I was just wasting money. But I was like, I spent the last, 2 years of my life building up this company. I didn't have a life. So I found myself easily just slacking. Like, I was just like on vacation every day. Like, I was just chilling, like living like the life. Like, I was like some superstar, just chill. I was like, I really wasn't doing anything. I wasn't being productive. Like, we were hustling and it looked good, but it was just more like a show. I'm like, well, I'm back here with my daughter, right? So, like, this looks cool to say, hey, I'm being a great father. But I just wasn't really doing what I
fulfilled.
I wasn't fulfilled. And that snowballed fast. Like, when I say fast. And I found myself drinking a lot, like going out partying every night, like partying. I was drinking, I was doing all this stuff and just making crappy decisions. And
it's like trying to put a temporary Band-Aid on a gaping wound.
Yeah. So before getting live, I know I've said a lot.
No, it's, I think that, and sorry to cut you, but like, I think that something was powerful, that you had also the awareness, right? Because you're like, okay, this is not fulfilling. And this chapter ran its course. This season kind of, not necessarily that it dried up, but you weren't there. And it's like, wherever you are, be there, right? But you could be physically somewhere, but if you're not mentally, emotionally, spiritually just there, it's very hard for you it's very hard for you to perform. It's very hard for you to be all of the things that you need to be. And no matter who is depending on you, is like, there also comes a point in your life that you're like, I got to do this for me. And yes, I have to be a present father, and I want to be all of these things. And even getting, coming back home and just finding yourself. And I think a lot of times those things are hard, because it's like, we're also unplugging from an identity. And a lot of times we tie this identity to these roles that we occupy, a company, a business, a position. And your identity is not any of those things. It's like, when the roles and the titles and the position and the companies and all of that thing goes away, is like who you are at the core. Like, what are your beliefs? Like your values, all of these things. It makes you who you are. So how did you, come back from that? Because I think that you unplugged from certain things, but then you plugged into things that weren't necessarily allowing you to be purpose driven, like alcohol and, partying and kind of wasting time, and also not doing the things that were most conducive for your health, because like, our health is our wealth as well.
I came back. It took a while, believe it or not. Like, it wasn't, and it's okay. I feel like that's an important part, to mention, because it's okay for it to take a while. Like,
absolutely.
Sometimes
we gotta embrace the process.
We put ourselves on other people's timelines, or time frames. Like, well, he found success that fast. I got to do it just as fast. And sometimes it's okay, because like, some of the biggest lessons in your life, it's not meant for you to go through speed read through it.
Marathon of the people on their way.
You'll put it on double speed on YouTube. We're not really paying attention. 7 seconds. If you can't give it to me in 7 seconds, it's not right. So we think that everything has to move so fast, and it didn't work fast.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I wasn't on the right path. I was working and trying to make it happen, but it just, something wasn't clicking. And now I started to doubt myself, because now I'm like, I think a big reason why it didn't work out for me so fast is because I felt like I had to portray a certain image to everyone, especially because everybody's like, oh, Vega made it. Vega's doing big things. How do you go from owning a 7-figure company to them being broke again?
Yeah.
And then, or feeling like you got to prove to somebody, like, I'm not broke. I still have money. I can still do this. I can still do that. And I found myself, instead of actually doing what I needed to do to be successful, I was doing what I needed to do to look successful. And I just kept on hitting so many roadblocks. And this was the end of 2018. No, this was 2019. And I just kind of slacked off for like a whole year, right? Just and fast forward to what was the pivot point. I ended up getting to a bit. I went out one night. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. Headed 4 or something. 5 o'clock in the morning. Heading back home. Going across Howard Franklin. Some drunk dude swerves in front of me. I'm going like 60 something miles an hour. Get into a huge accident on Mother's Day.
Wow.
And yeah, very crazy accident. And then it just went downhill. From there, just making sure that I didn't get any legal trouble there. Keep in mind, like, me and my daughter's mother are not at good terms because of my choice to go build a company instead of being a father. So like, now I'm like, I look bad if I get in trouble or do something.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a kid. I'm doubting all this stuff, and it just snowballed. And I instead of working towards a goal, I found myself falling deeper into the hole and falling deeper away. Now I don't have a car. Now I use that excuse to not go to meetings, to not get clients. And I kind of just lost it for the whole year. Fell a
downward spiral.
Yeah. And I don't believe in depression. Like, I know that it's real, but I think if you're not happy with something, change it. But I just couldn't find out how to change it.
Yeah.
And then finally I'm like, you know what, Vega, you've done it before. You got to get your shit together. Like, you got to make it happen. Excuse my language. But I decided, all right, I'm going to make it happen. And when I go to make it happen, and I started 11 Branding, at the time, what they call 11 Agency. Soon as we literally create the LLC, we get an office, I create the business bank account. Less than 30 days later, COVID hits.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was a major pivot point. Like,
what now?
What now? Yeah. And I was like, all right, well, this must be a sign, right? So, you're doubting it. Like this, if you can't put any excuses, because everyone's delayed now. The world is delayed. Everything's shut down.
Yeah.
Right. So technically it's a level playing field. Like, it's a curse. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's a blessing to show you, like, don't complain. Everybody's slack. So you have no excuse. Get it together. Make it happen. And that's what I did. And that really, it allowed me to take a lot of that time, since nobody was doing anything. No clients were going anywhere. I took it as time to learn from mentors, go online, take courses. And I invested thousands of dollars, like whatever I was making, back into self-development. And I can use that time to condition my mindset and sharpen up among my skills. And really, it allowed me to really look at things from a different perspective and say, you know what? Build a company for what you want it to be, not for what you think other people need it to be, or what you need it to be for other people. And I started 11 Agency. And what 11 represents is you don't need to be like anyone else because you're one of one.
Yeah, love that. Let's go.
And yeah, it's been a blessing from there on out. I mean, man, it's hustle.
Like, when we talk about, unplugging, right? You unplugged from this identity that was just tied to money, tied to success. You then had to unplug from alcohol, unplug from a downward spiral. And regardless, yes, you could be like, oh, it wasn't necessarily depression, but it was, you were going in a downward spiral because of the choices, but also because your mind was playing tricks on you as well. And there was just a lot of different factors, and financial and all of these things. And, when the world shut down, it's like nobody could go outside. Like you said, it focused you to go inside. It focused you to look from within. And I always say that, what's going on the outside, like your outer world is always a reflection of what's going on in your inner world. But you dove into personal development, to self-development, started reinvesting in yourself. And it wasn't like your business wasn't thriving, but just when you think you're about to make it and you hit like that, that you say the peak, is just like, dang, now COVID hit.
Like, all right, God, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and like, no, like I still, there's something that I still need you to work on. I still need you to go deep within. And I think that was powerful in itself as well, because if you wouldn't have never taken that time to just laid the foundation, you laid the groundwork, I don't think that it would be where you are today.
Absolutely not. It definitely would not be.
Yeah. And, just carrying yourself as such a high value man, as a high value entrepreneur, as a high value businessman, in every aspect, as a high value father, in all of those things have to be in alignment. But it started with you having that mindset of saying, hey, you know what? The only way through is through. And even though this is my reality, it doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. And I think that that's powerful in itself.
Yeah. So I took that moment, like you said, to kind of like to really like look at myself again. That self-awareness came back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just think I really want to take a moment to be, to really tie back on that depression factor of it, right?
Yeah.
Even just being the other month was Men's Mental Health Month, and it doesn't even get it. I feel like we're fed so much on social media, which even led to my perspective of I don't believe in depression. Depression doesn't exist. Like we have that mindset that to be a high value man, you can't that's weak to feel certain things, and it really messes with a man's mind. Like it was really, that was the moment that I said, you know what, something's not right. I learned about high functioning depression, where I was like depressed. I'm killing it. I'm doing business. I'm doing it. But I was like, all right, well, be a student, Vega. Like if you can learn from everything else, learn from the things that they might not be the way that you look at life, but understand things from all perspectives of life. It's like, wait, this is the high functioning depression thing. This sounds kind of real, right? So like, it's important to know, like a lot of people in entrepreneurship will fail because they're experiencing either high functioning depression or just depression in itself because they're comparing themselves to what they see online. And, entrepreneurship online is painted to be sexy. And entrepreneurship is not supposed to be sexy.
Not at all.
It's not sexy. It's rewarding.
Absolutely.
It's tough, but it's rewarding. And people confuse the reward with the attractiveness. They think that in order to be successful in social media, it needs to look like what they're seeing on the post. And they'll give up right before reaching that success because they're looking at someone else's path that they see on a post. And they don't realize that the path to success actually looks exactly like what they're going through. It looks like self-doubt every now and then. It looks like questioning yourself, your skills. It looks like confusion. You're pioneering a new path. When you're a pioneer to something, that means nobody's been there before. Of course, you're not going to see what's in front of you. Of course, it feels like you're blind. Of course, it feels like it's dark and you're being buried. It's because you're pioneering the way. You're creating the path for everybody else to find. So like so many people give up because they're experiencing either depression or high functioning depression. And they think that they're supposed to be just going on a straight path and just winning the lottery and everything falling in line perfect and getting everything they need. And it's like, no, you're doing exactly what you need to do. You just need to go through it, continue, and clear that path and clear that way. And that's where you're going to find your success.
Absolutely.
And that's where you're going to find your true identity. Like that's where you find the core pieces that make who you are.
Absolutely.
And when I really started to tie in like all my focus on understanding that, I was like, okay, how does this apply into business? And what have I learned all these years, right? Like, don't let it go to waste. Yeah, there was a lot of smack in the face, but like, what have you learned? And when I started to really focus, I was like, I'm learning who I am as a person and what makes my identity. And I started to focus on, branding ties into identity. Okay, and that's how the start of the foundation came together for brand genetics and understanding the core identity of who you are and what it really takes to create a brand. And at the moment where most people would have thought it was the weakest, I'm over here praying, God, make everything work. God, open doors and opportunities for me. God, allow big, high-paying clients to call me back. God, give me patience. God, make me a better father. I'm praying for all these things. And what we fail to realize is when you pray for patience, God can make you.
They're going to put some weight on you.
And for all these things, and COVID hit. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a reason for this. All the things I prayed for, the opportunities presented themselves. But I really had to look because they presented themselves as work.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, are you willing to do the work? And during that COVID time, that's where brand genetics really started to form and tie together. That's where people were calling me. They're like, yo, I can't get anybody else here. Like, take a test. I'll take a test. If we both, good, are you willing to fly over here? And just opportunities just started paying. And instead of COVID holding me back, COVID rocketed. It was a slingshot for my business. And opened the doors. What I thought was a major setback, and what I almost caught myself tripping up, like, here we go again. Instead of falling, that actually was an opportunity for me to just move forward and really bring 11 to new heights.
I love that. I love that. Congratulations, by the way. I know that you just launched a book. So Ugly is in Your DNA by Jose Vega in brand genetics, lead expert in brand genetics. the framework to building a beautiful brand, unlocking your core identity. So you said that, it kind of formed during COVID, and we're in 2025 now, right? Tail end of 2025. And there's a lot of things that I kind of want to, and I'm gonna do my best to kind of make it short. But there's something that you said. You're like, what ended up, what I thought was setback, it ended up being the setup for the comeback. And that in itself is powerful, because if you wouldn't have been determined, if you wouldn't have known who you were and start building and going within to say, okay, what is my identity? What really do I believe in? What really do I value? What really is my purpose? If you wouldn't have been doing that soul searching and doing this thing to go within so that you can see what really you can go without, I don't really think that this would have even been able to happen. Yeah. And you said where the world shut down, it allowed it to be a slingshot for your brand, for your business, because now where people didn't want to go somewhere because nobody was flying, nobody was traveling, everybody was scared, everybody was operating in a spirit of fear. You took that time and you operated in a spirit of faith. And I think that that's goes back to kind of even the beginning of our conversation, where you're like, blind faith can transform everything. If you have blind faith, you can make anything happen. And I love that that is a pillar of just who you are as an individual, as a businessman, as a father, as just a voice in the community, because more people need to know that. More people need to know. And like you said, comparison is the thief of all joy. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are looking at social media and don't realize like it's shell media. It's like people are showing you highlights of what things look like. And all of a sudden we're like, oh, it's supposed to success is not glamorous. Business is not glamorous. I would tell people all the time, it's ghetto sometimes. It's the mundane of the aspect. And that's why, and I love that you touched also on high functioning depression, because I very well must die. And you're like, oh no, I'm busy being productive. No, but that's masking that takes place because we don't want to go within and be like, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm feeling. Yeah. And we also, from whether it's Latino upbringing or just minority upbringing or just a man or a woman or growing up, and we see our moms be strong, and our moms is who teaches us how to survive. And that's where that hustle, that grit, all of these things. But our fathers is like who teaches us how to be loved. And regardless as to what, we live in a society where it's like, oh no, if you're depressed, you ain't ish. If you're showing your feelings, you're weak. And no, that is a sign of strength, because when you feel your feelings, there's freedom on the other side of that. And I don't think enough people are having those conversations. Like, mental health matters. You matter. You take care of your mental health. I don't care how wealthy you are. If you're not healthy to enjoy it, what's the point?
You can't detach yourself from something that you don't acknowledge, right? So if you acknowledge that I'm experiencing this, how are you going to take it off you? Like, if you're like, oh, but I don't have it. So if you don't have it, why would you try to change it? Right?
Yeah.
Then you see I smirked when you said a Latin household, because, just from that perspective, whether it be most of the time minority, household, they kind of teach that, or like, oh, that doesn't exist. Like,
stop crying.
Yeah, like,
what are you crying for? Just cry, baby.
They get depressed. Like, they're gonna look at you like,
go pray and you'll be fine. Like, no, I need therapy. This can't fix it.
Come over here, I'll give you something to be depressed.
Right.
Like,
right.
You think you're depressed? Like, so yeah, like I'm glad that we had a moment to touch, normally we don't get to take a big portion of an interview to touch on those things, but it's so important because all of those things were major pillars, and it really ties back to the foundation of this book. Like, this book is so important to me because it's exactly that. Like, people will hear the introduction that you gave and instantly expect me to go, well, the reason I found success is because, and just spit out all of this analytical approach to business. And really, the reason I found success is being able to identify certain value aspects of my own story, and then where to pivot, where to have this up, where to that. And this book, what it does is it shows that the most successful brands, you should never be ever trying to create a brand. You should discover the brand that's already within you.
So let's talk about this book. Talk to us about, what can people expect, not only about branding, about your story, but tell us, what do you hope your audience gets from this book?
I would probably bring it back to a lot of what we've been talking about so far, right? It's been a great opportunity that we even both got to touch a little bit on our stories in itself, because what I want them to understand with this book is most people, that after the introduction and the edification that you gave would have expected for us to instantly go into social media strategy this and posting that.
Yeah.
And if you haven't gotten like the bigger picture of things, a lot of what we lost ourselves in was the conversation of our stories, right? And what I want people to be able to understand and take away from this book is exactly what is branding, what is marketing, because the two words get thrown together very loosely, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and there's a lot of people that from a foundational level, they think marketing is branding and branding is marketing, right? They're like, all right, brand, whatever. And you hear every day on social media now, you got to market. You got to run ads. You got to post videos. You got to put content. They tell you marketing. But what is marketing? What is branding? And I'm glad that we got to talk about our stories because that's what branding is. Branding is your story and marketing is how you tell that story. So if you get so lost in marketing, right? And analytical approach and running ads and numbers and this strategy, that strategy, you're trying to tell a story that you don't yet have. Or you're trying to shy away from your story and what makes you you. So actually kind of reverse engineering, going back to the foundational pillars of what is important to you, what are your values, like all of these different things that make you you as a person. People buy into you before they buy into your product or service, right? Like before I even knew what you did, if I knew you were a publicist and you specialize in PR or whatever the situation, I was like, yo, Pam's dope. Like I just feel her energy when you speak. And then I was like, it was unique. I was like, you're very, the way that you articulate your ideas is very clear and concise, but then it doesn't feel super like polished, like it doesn't feel like you're faking it or putting on like the video voice. I heard you on stage and I'm like, yo, she sounds like she's from New York. It's like, and then you even threw us in Spanish and I'm like, that is really what brand is. Like people think that they need to create a brand, and really what you need to do is you need to discover the brand that's within you. You need to hone in on your story, the uniqueness, because when you try to make a brand perfect, a brand is not built on the perfections. It's built on the uniqueness of the imperfections and finding the beauty within it. What makes you ugly is when you try to only put in everything that's perfect and now you're putting parts that don't fit. Something looks odd. Something doesn't look like it's right.
I love that. Branding is your story and marketing is how you tell it.
Absolutely.
I love that. That is powerful. So good. I'm so excited for audience. I'm excited to read this book, first of all.
I'm excited for you.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so grateful that you got to be here with us today. So leave the audience with something, whether it's telling them, marching orders, but more than anything, just share with them an aspect of something that not only you had to unplug from, but something that you had to plug in to become who you are today, and tell them, what's next.
I would say I would have to unplug from trying to be perfect, right? Like trying to make sure that everything's right. Like I can't start until this is this. I can't do this. Like it's one of the biggest things that I see when someone comes into my office, right? Again, they're trying to make everything perfect and they're shying away from their story and the uniqueness of who they are. And they wonder why in person they're dope. They got a good following, like people like them.
Yeah.
But then they go put something online. Like, everybody's a hater. No one's supporting. And it's like, because you're not being you. You're too busy trying to be perfect. And that's something that I had to shy away from because I'm like, in person, when people meet me, all they have to do is meet me and they're going to love me. But I'm like, why is it not working? Because I started to look at it. It's the same mistake that I see when people come into my office. They come to me like, oh, Vega, I want to look like this person. And they show me their photo shoots. But I want to sound like this person. I want the edits to be like that person. So what they fail to realize what you're doing is you're trying to create or tell your story by taking a little piece of everyone else's story and wondering why it's not making sense. Wondering why people are confused. Wondering why it's not converting. You're like, well, it's just the closest people to you be the haters, right? And nobody wants to show support. And it's like, well, they're seeing through the fluff.
Yeah.
Really, like, I want them to realize that it's very, very, very clear on what you need to do. If you want to sell more, if you want to build a brand that's successful, stop being ugly and start being attractive. Stop being unclear with your message. Stop being greedy with the ask. Give value more than what you ask for. You lack a lot of presence, right? Or you lack consistency. You're not showing up. And then the why is you. You're not present. You're not there. So if you're wondering why business is not working, it's because you're ugly. You're not attractive. You're not bringing the people to you with the true power and the value that you have. And the value and the strongest asset that you could probably bring to the table is your story, the struggles that you have, because that's what people can relate to. That's where people can find themselves in you. That's where people can find someone that they love, another family member. They see how it reflects or they see it within you. That's what builds trust. You hear all the time, they got to know, like, and trust you. How are they going to know you if you don't even know yourself? How are they going to like you if you don't like yourself? You're trying to create an image that doesn't even match who you are when you look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And then how are they going to trust you if you can't even trust yourself enough to go This is what made me me. This is who I am. This is how I feel. So many people are afraid to share their authentic self that they just come super genuine. The camera turns on and they go from like that cool person that, so let me tell you why you should purchase from me today, right? Like, and they wonder why it's not working. Like, you can't know, like, and trust you if you don't know, like, and trust yourself.
That's so good. That's so good. I always say, like, your story is your superpower. And a lot of times we shy away from that because we want to fit this box or fit this mold, or we're comparing and contrasting. And it's just like, no, like you said, stop trying to be perfect and just be yourself, because yourself is powerful enough.
We spent we spent 80% of the podcast talking about our stories. Like, I don't think, well, like I was supposed to drop some songs, right? Like, I'll give you songs before we close. I don't know. I will in a second. But really is that, like, in order for the systems to work, right? A lot of what I do with my clients on the front end, we do a discovery and an audit phase. And they're like, everything that they had in mind, it completely just crumbles in front of them because they thought that they was going to come here and be Mr. Suave. And I'm like, nah. You need to understand who you are in order to create a brand that people are going to truly connect with. Like, we'll polish it up. We'll show them, like, people grow and people change with time, and we'll give that polished version of you. But we also need to build the authenticity through that story that you have. So if I don't understand your story, if I don't know you, there's no way that I'm going to give you systems because again, what is social media? The expedited process, right? So all you're going to do is you're going to expedite the process to your failure by putting out a story and by walking the path that is in alignment with your purpose. So we'll do that audit. And once we find those out, we implement what's in brand genetics. We build out their DNA, their design, their narration, and association. Design of the aesthetics, the way you look. You want to look clean and sharp? Cool. But we're also designing the experience that someone feels when they come across you.
Absolutely.
The narration. The narration is the story you tell about yourself. Don't shy away from the things that made you. But the narration is also the story that people tell about you. So it's like the telephone game. They can only tell a story as good as what has been explained.
That's right.
Has been explained to them. And the last one's association. Who and what is associated with your brand? The accolades, the achievements, the years of experience, the lessons. They're actually getting smacked in the face so that I know that you can take a punch and get back up before I give you all of my money and allow you to take a punch, for me.
That's right.
All of those associations, and then who's associated with your brand? Who's been part of that story? Who's taken those L's with you? Who's experienced some of those wins with you? What do those testimonials look like? What do those case studies look like? All of those things come into play. And when you understand who your DNA is, you're able to humanize a brand. And when you're able to humanize your brand, people buy into people before they buy into product or services.
That's right.
Whether you're there or not, the fact that your brand has been humanized, they can connect with it the same way they would connect with you. It doesn't matter if they come across you at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It doesn't matter if they hear about your brand across the country or across the world. Whether you're there or not, the fact that you have that clear, concise identity and the DNA flows effortlessly through every touch point, they're able to connect with it. They're able to build that trust and make a decision.
I love that.
The only thing you're missing from that point is consistency, because no one's ever going to make the decision. It's very rare they're going to make the decision in the first point of contact. But DNA is so important because when you're able to flow the DNA through every touch point, someone can come across you multiple occasions and go, you know what? I've seen 7 videos of this person. I've been to a conference. I read their book. I've come across 20 different touch points and that person has been consistent.
Absolutely.
I want to work with this person.
Powerful. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being on here so much. So, what is next for you? How can we support you, and tell the people what is next for Vega?
Building amazing connections and partnerships with people just like yourself. I mean, your relationship that I'm super excited about, continue to collaborate with someone I'm glad that I've met, from a business perspective as a friend, and just like leveraging those partnerships to add more value than what I'm receiving, but also to come out from behind the scenes. I've been a lot behind the brand.
Yeah.
Not showing a face to the person who was doing it. So now I'm focusing a bit more on personal brand. This is the first book. I've actually got a 2-book publishing deal. So there's a second book coming out very soon.
Go.
And I'm going to focus more on my speaking career as well. Speaking, training, doing more of those things. So you'll see me on more stages.
Yes.
You'll see me, coming out from behind the scenes.
I love that. Thank you again, Vega, for being on. This was a great podcast. Make sure you guys tune in to Unplugged with Pam, the podcast. Follow, share, like, subscribe, and follow a visionary Vega. And stay tuned. Blessings, guys. Let's get it. Thank you.